The year is 1996. You just paid $50 for a video game, and now you own it. You take it home, play the whole thing, every level, every secret, discover every ending, and nothing required a follow-up transaction. The game was the game, and that should have made what came next impossible. It didn't. In 2026, the PlayStation 5 cost $649, 2 price increases in under a year. The Nintendo Switch 2 launched at $449 and is selling first-party titles for $80 each. Grand Theft Auto 6 has been in development for 12 years, and a storefront briefly listed a placeholder price of $120 before quietly removing it. Industry figures are openly hoping it sets a new standard. The consoles cost more, and the games cost more. And the games themselves, well, that part no one wants to talk about.
This is the worst thing to happen since World War XI.
We need to get you off the internet. Good evening. Coming to you from my library, where everything on these shelves was made by someone who wanted you to finish it. Now, let me introduce you the 4 horsemen of the gaming apocalypse. The first rider on the white horse, DLC. In principle, it was reasonable. The Witcher 3, Mass Effect, The Elder Scrolls used it honestly. You paid for something substantial, but that was the door left open. Street Fighter X Tekken in 2012 shipped 12 characters already on the disc you purchased, locked behind a $20 paywall. The content you already paid for is inaccessible until you pay again. That should have been the breaking point. The players were furious, but then they bought it anyways, and the industry took notes.
Ha! They're still doing it now! Monster Hunter, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Same nonsense, different label. Like mice staring at the trap, thinking they're the one special rat that won't get caught.
The second rider on the red horse, loot boxes. Real money for randomized virtual items with undisclosed odds. The Belgian Gaming Commission banned them. The United Kingdom investigated, and EA called them surprise mechanics in a BBC interview. FIFA Ultimate Team generated over $1 billion in a single year and randomized card packs. The word EA did not use was gambling. The word everyone else used was gambling. Then there's the third rider on the black horse, the Battle Pass. Pay per season for content on a timed track. Miss the deadline and the content is gone. The scarcity is artificial and the urgency is manufactured. They are profiting off the fear of missing out. Then there's the fourth rider on the pale horse, virtual currency, V-Bucks, COD points, Robux. The conversion rate is never clean by design. The skin costs 800 V-Bucks and the store only sells bundles of 1,000. You have 200 left over, which is not enough for anything, just enough to make buying feel more like finishing what you started rather than spending again. Casinos figured this out decades ago. The moment you convert money into chips, the chips stop feeling like money. DLC, on-disc content locks, season passes, loot boxes, battle passes, virtual currency, each one a mechanism, together a system, and underneath all of it, something else was being removed that nobody announced. Split-screen co-op was not removed because players stopped wanting it. It was removed because 2 players on one console is one purchase producing 2 players. 2 players with separate consoles, subscriptions, and battle passes is 4 to 6 transactions. Local multiplayer was financially inefficient. That is the part they do not want to say out loud.
And remember earning the Recon helmet in Halo 3? Doing the impossible Vidmasters. Not buying it, earning it. Used to mean something.
Now you can pull out a credit card and buy it. The power fantasy is just an illusion.
Don't remind me, man. Pathetic.
Overwatch launched in 2016, one of the most popular games on the planet. In 2019, Blizzard announced Overwatch 2 and immediately stopped updating the original. No maps, no characters, nothing. The loyal player base was put on hold for years while the sequel was built. The entire justification for that wait was a dedicated campaign story mode with hero missions, talent trees, and cooperative content. Overwatch 2 launched in October of 2022, replacing the original game entirely. Assault maps and game modes were removed. The promised cooperative campaign mode was not included. 6 months later, Blizzard confirmed the hero missions were scrapped entirely. 3 story missions eventually released behind a $15 paywall, with poor reception, and by early 2024, all remaining story content was cancelled. The content players lost from Overwatch 1 was then drip-fed back to them as seasonal content in Overwatch 2. Maps from the original returned as if they were fresh additions. And then in 2025, Blizzard renamed the game back to Overwatch, dropping the 2 entirely, and described it as wanting to build an everlasting digital product. So let's summarize. They deleted the original, broke their central promise, stripped the content, sold it back over 3 years, and then removed the number as if it never happened.
That is diabolical. And me say that as someone who has sailed with actual pirates. I saw my old crew still playing that mess last night. They won't even queue up Marvel Rivals with me.
Here is the argument the industry is quietly making right now, and it needs to be said directly. A price increase has historically signaled one thing: a better product, higher quality justifying higher costs, and that logic has been completely severed. The Nintendo Switch 2 is charging $80 for first-party titles. Mario Kart World at $80. That is not hate on Mario Kart. That is just my observation that games miles beyond it in scope, ambition, and craft are selling for less. Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, Hollow Knight, Hades, God of War. The premium price is no longer attached to the premium product. It is attached to the premium brand and the premium platform. And that distinction matters enormously, because every publisher is watching. Nintendo charges $80, the industry normalizes $80. Then the next AAA game release will be $80, then $85. We are watching the floor become the ceiling in real time, and this is not only about the price. Games are now regularly shipped unfinished. Day 1 patch notes that are longer than the manual. Features listed on the box that arrive 6 months later as free updates or paid DLC. Bugs that get fixed in updates while review scores are locked. The customer is now part of the quality assurance process and paying full price, or more than full price, for the privilege.
They're not selling games no more. They're selling the memory of how games used to feel, and charging full price for the feeling every time.
That is the live service economy in one sentence. Gaming was, for one generation, the most democratic entertainment medium in existence. A child with a second-hand console and a borrowed cartridge had the same complete experience as a child with money. That equality is gone. The free-to-play model was marketed as removing the barrier to entry, and it was built on a more sophisticated extraction system than the $60 price tag it replaced. Because $60 had a ceiling and free-to-play does not. The games that still feel like something, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, Expedition 33, are almost entirely made up by studios that refuse that model. The audience responds with a fervor that live service titles with 10 times the budget rarely generate, because audiences can feel the difference between something made for them and something made at them. So here's the question this investigation is actually building toward. Not what the industry did, what it says about us that we keep letting it happen. The industry did not trick anyone. It engineered the conditions under which people would choose to stay. It made you love something first, a franchise, a character, a world, a version of yourself who played this game at 14, and then slowly changed the terms after the attachment was made. Now leaving costs more than staying, because leaving means abandoning something that became part of your identity. That sunk cost fallacy is not just money, it is years, it is memories, it is who you were the first time you played it. That is why the outrage cycles and then dissipates. People get angry, post about it, and then continue to play. And the industry learned that your anger is not a threat because you'll never leave. It is noise before the next purchase. A bunch of adults throwing a temper tantrum, and the next concession will arrive, slightly worse than the last one, and the threshold of what was acceptable will move again. At what point will enough be enough? When they are inserting ads in the middle of your gameplay? The industry is not counting on your loyalty. It is counting on your attachment, and it built that attachment deliberately, long before you knew what it was going to cost you. And that has always been the case. In 1996, you paid $50 and owned something complete, made by people who wanted to make it. In 2026, you pay more, sometimes much more, for a license to access something that may not exist in 5 years, designed around the revenue model rather than the experience, with a second economy already operating inside it before you've even finished the tutorial. The AI industry drove up RAM prices. That part is not the publisher's fault. Everything else though, the on-disc DLC locks, the artificial scarcity, the unfinished launches, the removal of split screen, the server-dependent ownership, the $80 price tag on a game that shipped without half its promised content. None of that was forced on anyone. It was chosen, justified by earnings calls, accepted incrementally by the players, and the only ones winning this game are the shareholders. But these are just my observations.
All right, I have something to say.
Go ahead.
Me pre-ordered GTA 6. Listen, it's been 12 years. 12 years, man! Me couldn't help it. And me think that's the problem right there.
Case closed.